In this video, I am going to talk about just one of the many reasons why I became an Orthodox Christian. Because at the end of the day, there are many reasons why I changed. And people have been asking me why. And to be quite honest with you, there are multiple reasons as to why I made the decision to become Orthodox. But because TikTok only allows me to make a 10-minute video, I'm going to give one of those reasons today. And this reason actually comes back to the Gospel of Matthew 16, specifically verse 18, in which Jesus says, "And I also say to you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades," other translations translate this as hell, "will not overpower it." This is the Legacy Standard Bible translation. But like I said, other translations such as the ESV actually use the word hell. But in the footnotes, they put gates of Hades. Now, I used to be non-denominational, then I was a Baptist, which are both forms of Protestant. The problem is that the whole premise of the Protestant Reformation is that the gates of Hades did prevail against the church, because the main issues that were raised by not just Luther but other Protestants is that the church lost its way, the church was corrupted, therefore Reformation, therefore Protestantism, therefore a billion denominations that just want to do their own thing, therefore goodbye sacraments, goodbye all of these highlights that had been part of Christianity since its inception. And like I said, many people ask me, "Oh, did you really think this through?" It's like, yes, I really did. I spent over a year thinking about this. I hate it when people assume that you make a decision such as this one, almost as if you made it on a whim, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna become Orthodox now. It's just so easy. And maybe some people are like that, but I am not like that. So it took me about a year, maybe over a year of research and coming face to face with these issues. And also, the more I study Christian history, the more I studied archaeology, you see imagery being used in the earliest forms of Christianity. I mean, I have talked about the Megiddo inscription. I have talked about ancient churches. They all used imagery. And this is going back to the 2nd century, to the 1st century. So the Protestant notion that imagery must be equated to idolatry, and this is very similar to what Islam argues, is ridiculous, because since the earliest years of the Christian faith that was established by Jesus, imagery has been a key aspect of Christianity. So am I to believe that the church was corrupted even as early as the 2nd century, and then somehow Protestants over 1,000 years later get it right? That is ridiculous. That is just a load of garbage. And I'm sorry for my language, but it's the truth. And the truth sometimes has to hurt. It has to sting you, but it doesn't change. It's the truth nonetheless. It's the truth regardless of how you feel about it. So once you realize all these things, once you realize that Protestants removed books that were part of the canon for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, they removed imagery which was part of the church since the inception. They removed the sacraments which was part of the church since its inception. Changed so much of what early Christianity is like. You have to realize that Protestantism just isn't the way to go. It doesn't make any sense, to me at least. And I think this is actually an objective truth. So I don't even know why I said "to me at least." Once I realized this, and once I realized that either Jesus is a liar or the Protestants are completely and totally wrong, well, obviously the decision was quite easy. But then I realized that Catholics also kept the sacraments. Catholics also kept the imagery, although quite different than the Orthodox Church. Well, then I had to look at Catholicism, and then I had to look at Eastern Orthodoxy. But then studying church history from the Catholics, I'm like, yeah, no, absolutely not. Vatican II, ridiculous. I mean, I'm sorry to the Catholics. I cannot see you eye to eye on that. Not even close. I cannot see you eye to eye when it comes to the Pope. And trust me, I did spend a lot of time studying from many Catholics. I studied from people like Jimmy Akin, who do apologetics for the Catholic Church. I looked at countless hours of Bishop Barron. I even looked through podcasts such as the Matt Fradd podcast, which I still like, by the way. It's not that I completely throw away the teachings, because I did learn a lot from Catholics. I did learn a lot from Protestants as well. Let's not get that incorrectly. Still think these people can be useful resources. But after studying more and more, I realized that Orthodox Christianity truly is the version of Christianity that has not changed at all, that has not been molded by the world. Orthodox Christianity, when you look at archaeology, when you look at early Christian church fathers, when you see their writings, and let's go a step further, and when you look at the Old Testament, when you look at the temple, when you look at the Ark of the Covenant, when you look at the tabernacle, you see that Orthodox churches are modeled after these things. An Orthodox church is modeled after the tabernacle. But one thing you will notice is that if you look at the writings of these historical figures, these church fathers, if you look at the archaeological evidence, and you step into an Orthodox church, they look identical. The teachings are the same. The sacraments are still there, which were talked about since the first century. The use of unleavened bread, I mean, this is rooted, deeply rooted in our faith. It goes back to the story of Moses. There's so much reverence, there's so much love for our history, our faith, our tradition. These things do matter, and they matter because they show us a picture, and that picture is that the gates of Hades, the gates of hell, have truly never prevailed against the Orthodox Church, the Eastern Orthodox Church. This is a church that, despite it being 2,000 years old, it is still the same. It's still, but it feels fresh at the same time, especially if you grew up Protestant or if you converted to a Protestant church. There's not this like sensory overload that you get at these other churches. Everything just feels so right. The incense, the imagery, the hymns, the unleavened bread. Again, these things are biblical, guys. And I brought these things to my Baptist and non-denominational friends, and I realized these people don't even care about the Old Testament. They don't even read it. They don't even know what I mean when I tell them about the tabernacle, the Ark of the Covenant, the temple. These things were built in a certain way because God commanded these things to be built in a certain way. The church fathers were literally in apostolic succession right after the apostles. So to assume or to even say that Christianity has been corrupted since after the death of the disciples, the apostles, is ridiculous, and it is something I cannot believe for a second. So that is just one of the many reasons why I became an Eastern Orthodox Christian. Also, when you step into liturgy for the first time, I almost cried. I genuinely mean that. I'm not an emotional person, but I had to hold back the tears. Anyways, I don't mean to belittle anyone with this video, but this is just my answer, and I believe it to be the truth. One of many reasons. Hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from. Hopefully you can, even if you disagree, you can still see why I changed. That is it for me this video. I will see you with another Bible study next time.